management is the process of organizing and planning how to divide your time between specific activities. Good time management enables you to work smarter, not harder, so that you can get more done in less time, even when time is tight and pressures are high. Failing to manage your time damages your effectiveness and creates stress. We all can relate to that. So let's take a look at this seminar using the time management formula to help us figure out how do we manage our busy lives. A time management formula seminar workbook accompanies this presentation. If you haven't already done so, please download a copy of the time management formula workbook from the course website. During this session, your screen will occasionally go dark like this, and an on-screen prompt will ask you to pause your video. Brief instructions on screen will then ask you to complete work in your seminar workbook. Then press play to continue the seminar. Before we get started, note page numbers are provided on the slide to help you follow along in your seminar workbook. It seems there's never enough time in the day. But since we all get the same 24 hours, why is it that some people achieve so much more than others? The answer lies in good time management. Time management requires an important shift in focus from activities to results. So you see, being busy isn't the same as being effective. Ironically, the opposite is often closer to the truth. Spending your day in a frenzy of activity often achieves less because you're dividing your attention between so many different tasks. Recall the last conversation where someone casually came up to you and said, "Hey, how are you doing?" Did your response to that question include a statement about being busy? Yep, me too. We're all busy, and we're getting busier. 48% of Americans say that they need more time in a day. 3 out of 4 doctor's visits are for stress-related illnesses. The average American works 47 hours per week, longer than any other industrialized nation. And 41% of Americans did not take a day off last year. We're busy, and we need to figure out how to manage our time. So let's think about that for a minute. On page 4 of your seminar workbook, how would you define time management? Press pause now and complete the activity in your seminar workbook. When you're finished, press play to continue the seminar. Let's define time management for purposes of this seminar. Time management is the ability to use one's time effectively or productively, especially at work, no matter what that work might be. Now here's an important point. Time is the ultimate inelastic resource. That means we can't create more of it. We can't create more seconds, minutes, or hours in a day. You cannot manage your time. You can only manage yourself. So time management is really life management. It's really the management of a sequence of events in your life. It's the ability to choose what to do first, what to do second, and what not to do at all. It may seem a bit counterintuitive to dedicate that precious time to learning about time management like you're doing now, instead of using it to get on with your work. But the benefits of time management are enormous. First, it offers greater productivity and efficiency in life. It also offers a better professional reputation, less stress, increased opportunity for advancement, and greater opportunities to achieve important life and career goals. And failing to manage your time effectively can have some very undesirable consequences, like missed deadlines, inefficiencies in workflow, poor quality of work, a poor professional reputation, and a stalled career, and high levels of stress. So it's important to understand that you can't save time. You can only spend it differently. That's really important. You can't save time because it goes by inevitably, like we just talked about. It just ticks and ticks. But you can spend it differently and spend it on higher value tasks. That's the life management and the attention management we're going to talk about in this seminar. So let's assess your time management. Complete the assessment on page 5 in your seminar workbook and ask yourself, how do I feel about these results? Press pause now to complete this activity in your seminar workbook. When you're finished, press play to continue with the seminar. Before we unpack how you self-manage your time, we need to address the elephant in the room. Yep, saying no. Saying no is hard for most people. There are some clear reasons why no is so hard for folks. First, saying no makes us feel guilty. We're afraid of people's reaction or disappointments when we say no. And frankly, it's just easier to say yes. It's easier to people please. And finally, we don't know how to say no, which is what I want to spend just a few minutes talking about before we truly begin to unpack the time management formula. The Oreo is a sandwich cookie consisting of 2 chocolate wafers with a sweet cream filling in between. Think of the chocolate wafers as your good news, and that delicious cream filling as your no. So to say no, you first thank the individual who's approached you to ask you to do something, and then, like the sweet cream filling, you briefly explain your no. You give them an assertive yet polite answer in terms of the ask that they've made. And then finally, you end with something positive. You get the conversation back on track. It's the Oreo cookie approach to saying no. Now take some time to think about how you might use the Oreo cookie approach to saying no. Press pause now and complete this activity in your seminar workbook. When you're finished, press play to continue with the seminar. There are many tips, tricks, and tools out there that suggest solutions to time management woes. But all of those helpful time management resources begin to feel cluttered. And each of them share 2 important factors in common through my observation: prioritization and flexibility. That's why I created the time management formula, a simple way to remember how do we best manage time. That is, time management equals priorities plus pliability. Let's take a look. For our purposes, let's define priorities as things regarded as more important than another. And secondly, pliability, the quality of being easily adaptable, flexibility. Being pliable is all about the ability to adjust to the dynamic and changing environment in which we live, to take our priorities and apply them appropriately to the things and choices we face in life. So let's take a look at the 3 big ideas when it comes to your priorities. First, eat the frog. This basically means do the ugliest, nastiest things first, because then you will accomplish more in your day. Second, be smart. Use SMART goals to accomplish your priorities. And third and finally, fill your tool belt. Use the tools of prioritization to benefit you in your time management. Let's take a deeper look. Eat the frog. I'm sure you all think I'm a little bit crazy, but let's take a look at what Mark Twain had to say. If the first thing you do when you wake up in the morning is eat a live frog, you'll have the satisfaction of knowing that's probably the worst thing that's going to happen to you all day long. There's a few things we can take from this. First, your live frog is your biggest, ugliest task when it comes to your priorities. It's the worst thing that you have to do. It's the one that you're most likely to procrastinate on. There are 2 important lessons here. First, if you have to eat more than one frog, eat the ugliest one first. What this means is do the worst first. Do the biggest, most difficult task first, because that's the one that's going to make the most difference. And once you've done the most important task, you'll find that the whole day or the whole project will flow much better. Second, if you have to eat a frog at all, which we all have to do, it doesn't pay to sit and look at it too long. In other words, just do it. Get on with it. Secondly, be smart with your goals. Do you ever feel like you're rushing around trying to get more done while actually accomplishing very little? That's because you haven't set SMART goals. SMART goals means that you clarify your ideas, focus your efforts, and use your time and resources productively and increase your chances of achieving what you want in life. SMART is simply an acronym for building great goals. To make sure your goals are clear and reachable, each one should be specific, which means it's simple and significant, measurable, meaningful or motivating, achievable, which is attainable, realistic, which is reasonable and realistic based on results, and time-based, which it has a timeline. So to make sure that you're clear on SMART goals, follow along with me on page 9 in your seminar workbook. First, S stands for specific. You should be clear about what you want to happen. Specific goals identify what will be measured and allow the person to gauge progress. Ask these questions. What do I want? Why is it important? Who is involved? Where is it located? and which resources are necessary. Next, M stands for measurable. You should be able to track your goal. The measurable element means including information that will help you determine if the goal is complete. Answer such questions as how much, how many, or how will I know when? Assessing your progress helps you to stay focused, meet your deadlines, and feel excitement of getting closer to reaching that goal. Again, jotting some notes on page 9 in the table of your workbook, A stands for achievable. You should be able to accomplish your goal. Your goal should be a stretch, but within your reach. An achievable goal will usually answer such questions as, how can I accomplish this goal? And how realistic is the goal based on other constraints, such as finances or other resources? R stands for realistic. Realistic goals provide for a likelihood of your success. A realistic goal helps you actually achieve what you set out to accomplish. A realistic goal should answer yes to these questions. Is it worthwhile? Is this the right time? Does it match my other needs? Am I the right person? And is it applicable to the current situation or where I'm at in life? And finally, T stands for time-based. You should set a time frame for your goal. Your goal should have a scheduled completion date. This provides a sense of urgency. A time-bound goal will usually answer these questions. When? What can I do 6 months from now? What can I do 6 weeks from now? And what can I do today? Now let's apply what you learned on page 10 of your seminar workbook. Brainstorm and write some SMART goals for yourself. Press pause now and complete this activity in your seminar workbook. When you're finished, press play to continue the seminar. So let's take a look at the third and final big idea of your priorities. Fill your tool belt. My dad always told me to have the right tool for the job. The methods by which we sort through the stuff of life to prioritize are kind of like the tools of a tool belt. The more tools we have at the ready, the more efficient outcomes we realize. There are many prioritization tools to choose from, but let's focus on 3 primary ways of setting priorities, and they're pretty simple. Follow along on page 11 of your seminar workbook. We'll talk about to-do list, pair comparison analysis, and the Eisenhower method. Let's get started. First, we set priorities using to-do lists as an essential tool. The simplest form of priority management, the to-do list, provides you with a one-stop shop for the tasks at hand. By using them, you'll ensure that you remember to carry out all necessary tasks, you tackle the most important jobs first and don't waste time on trivial things, and you don't get stressed out by a large number of unimportant jobs. I have to admit that my preferred method of keeping a to-do list is a journal and a pen, but there are many other alternatives to a paper and pencil model. Technology has exploded with resources that send you reminders, give you updates, and keep you on task. In simplest forms, you can keep a to-do list in Microsoft Office through Word or Excel. Outlook also has a tasks functionality. Gmail, similarly, has a tasks list that you can manage completely in the cloud and electronically. With smart devices, there are many applications out there, like Remember the Milk, or To-Do List, or Toodly-Doo. Check them out and find a tool that works for you. But let's stop here for a moment and use a simple paper and pencil method in your seminar workbook to create a to-do list for what you have to do tomorrow, or maybe next week. Press pause now and complete this activity in your seminar workbook. When you're finished, press play to continue the seminar. Having trouble trying to decide what to do on that to-do list? What's most important? What can wait, or what should drop off the list? Paired comparison analysis helps you work out the importance of a number of options relative to one another. A simple chart provides a framework, like the one you see here, for comparing each option against all others. 4 steps will help you do it. First, create a simple chart, like you see here, with rows and columns labeled with your alternatives by letter. At the intersecting row and column, mark the letter of the winning option in the cell that's the most important alternative. Note that some cells are blocked out to avoid duplicate comparisons. Third, tally the scores for each alternative. Fourth and finally, prioritize from highest to lowest value alternative by simply adding up the number of each letter you have. So in this example, priority C is the most important. There's 2 C's listed in the chart. Then priority A, 1 listed, with finally B as it's not listed at all. So let's pause here and use the to-do list you just created to complete a paired comparison analysis in your seminar workbook. Look at page 12, a chart's there for you. Press pause now to complete this activity in your seminar workbook. When you're finished, press play to continue the seminar. Finally, let's take a look at the Eisenhower method. You guessed it, named after President Dwight D. Eisenhower. To use this method, you first need to identify the tasks you need to achieve. You can use your to-do list for this. After that, tasks are evaluated with respect to their importance and urgency, or both. Place the tasks in the one of the 4 Eisenhower boxes that it most belongs. Just ask yourself these questions. Is it important? Is it urgent? Or both? These tasks are then evaluated based on what quadrants they fit into. Urgent and important are the tasks we do first. We do them now. Important but not urgent, we decide. We schedule a time to do them. Urgent but not important are the tasks that we should think about delegating or assigning to someone that's better placed to do that task. And then finally, not urgent and not important. We delete these tasks. We eliminate them. They're dropped. Your time is already occupied by priorities in other categories. Let's take some time out here to use your to-do list and apply the Eisenhower method to those tasks. Pause now and complete this activity in your seminar workbook. When you're finished, press play to continue with the seminar. Now we're back to our formula. Priorities plus pliability is time management. We just spent a few minutes on priorities, so now let's move to pliability. Surprise, surprise, we have 3 big ideas for pliability. First, admit it. We all waste time. Then, second, deal with interruptions. And third and finally, we need to manage our attention if we're going to manage our time. We all waste time. The average person has 5 social media accounts and spends about 1 hour browsing these networks each day. The average office employee spends 1.5 hours per day, that's 6 weeks per year, looking for things. On average, a person spends an estimated 45 minutes waiting every day in a line or on hold. And finally, the average American spends more than 4 hours per day watching television. Based on those statistics and those statistics alone, the average American wastes 7 hours and 15 minutes per day. And let's face it, it's probably more than that. Even if you think some of that time is dedicated to a worthwhile activity, each of these examples offers some flexibility in the allocation of the seconds that are ticking by. That is, you can use this wasted time watching or waiting in a line to use the tools of prioritization that you recently learned to better manage your time. It's a simple concept, but effective. For instance, you might be able to scratch something off your to-do list when you're standing in the Starbucks line. Think about it and try to apply it. If you do that, turn to page 15 in your seminar workbook and answer this question. How do you waste time, and how might you better use that time? Press pause now and complete this activity in your seminar workbook. When you're finished, press play to continue the seminar. The second big idea in pliability is interruptions happen, so just deal with it. One of the most common complaints I hear has to do with something that's so fundamentally a part of the modern workplace it's almost impossible to avoid. Yep, I'm talking about the dreaded interruption. As a matter of fact, I often describe my work managing human resources as fighting fires. Issues flare up all the time, some even burn out of control, and it's my job to fight those interruptions. So think back to your last workday and consider for a minute the many interruptions that occurred. There have been multiple calls, emails, hallway conversations, colleagues stopping by your office, or anything else that unexpectedly demanded your attention and in doing so distracted you from a task at hand. And jot those down on page 15 of your seminar workbook. Pause now and complete this activity in your seminar workbook. When you're finished, press play to continue with the seminar. So we know that interruptions are inevitable. You just listed out what happened to you the last time you were at work or home doing something you wanted to do. So here are some suggestions to deal with them. 1. Plan to take control. Simply stop being surprised by interruptions. Plan for them. Know they're going to happen so that you can work them in to your plans for work, or not be derailed by them. 2. Don't do it yourself. This almost goes without saying, but I have to say it anyway. If you don't want people to interrupt you, don't interrupt them. You set the standard. Lead by example. And 3rd and finally, if all else fails, hide. Sometimes you just need to get the heck out of there. Physically pick up your work and go to a quiet spot to avoid interruptions when the task at hand requires it. After being interrupted, you can politely end a conversation by suggesting that you have another priority. It's just as simple as that. Be open and honest and clearly communicate. Remember, planning for interruptions is important, not doing them is even more important, and hiding from them is always an option. 3rd and finally, in our big ideas about being pliable, is managing your intention. Just because something's on your to-do list or your calendar doesn't mean you're going to have time to do it, or that it will get done, or for that matter of fact, that it's a priority. Your attention is what matters. Your attention reflects your conscious decisions about which activities are going to occupy your time. Being flexible with your attention leads to an agile use of time. That's good time management. Because remember, priorities plus pliability equals great time management. Use this formula as you think about managing your life and your time for better, greater results of whatever's important to you.